everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. And of course, I am here with the Philly sports guy, and we have our friend Travis popping in. We're definitely going to cover some Jags topics with you today, but we do have to start it off with Seattle firing their manager. And this is not a shock. Service gets fired. Yeah, so the only thing we get to hang our hat on so far is, we took the Philly series, I guess. That's it. That's our claim to fame for this year.
Well, I mean, I guess you saw it coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the batting coach. Where do you think this goes for them now? Is this the spark? Like, is this done to spark the team?
No. So it would be one thing if you were bringing a manager in, like if you went and bought a top flight manager to that might do something. But Dan Wilson was in the room. Like he was part of this organization, right? And it's not like he was named interim head coach or head coach. I'm used to talking about football, obviously. Interim manager. He is what is listed as the manager moving forward, which gives you some belief that he's probably that guy next year. And so if that's the case, as much as I like Dan Wilson, I don't know if that's a difference maker. And at the end of the day, it comes down to Dipoto getting guys in, and it comes down to ownership not wanting to pay anybody. So I don't know that a change at manager matters in the grand scheme.
Well, it's funny because they say they needed a new voice in the organization. So this new voice in the organization is going to be the guy who's been there for 11 years.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
It makes sense. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, that was the same as when they got rid of France and then they brought in a guy with the identical stat line. Like, how is that going to do anything? You're like, oh, let me get this mediocre out and bring mediocre in. Let's go, guys. So, I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that anything's going to change. And really that starts at ownership. Like, they are not a group that is interested in winning. They're interested in fans in the stands. And they have that formula down well. Seattle always has a good showing at the stadium. It's one of the teams that is profitable at the box office, but they don't win. Like they go on runs, they excite fans, and then they let you down at the end of the year. I made a meme years ago that I want the Mariners to be my pallbearers so that they can let me down one last time.
I don't know, but what is that the point? Is that the point to just be good enough not to have people pissed off at you, but also good enough to keep the fans coming back and paying money? Like the least amount of work to get the most amount out of them. And as a billionaire, you're probably happy with that outcome as a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I believe we call that the Cowboys.
Dang. Yeah. Lord. All right.
Yeah, but the Cowboys actually make the playoffs.
That's true.
Like let's go, going a step beyond. They are always going to say that they have it's their year, it's their year, it's their year. And a lot of the times it could be their year.
Yeah.
They have the team to be their year. I mean, it's not a fair comparison outside of they haven't won anything. I mean, that's really what it is they put a good enough team out there to keep people engaged, and then they fall apart in the playoffs. Conversely, with the Mariners, they have a good enough team to miss the playoffs by 3 games every year.
Yeah, and they have an owner who really doesn't want to pay, whereas the Cowboys, you probably won't make that argument for them. Like they're willing to draft the right guys. They're willing to generally pay these guys. Like that's not the problem. They just have an owner who's just ridiculous, but still,
exactly,
he'll pay.
So a different path, but the same outcome. I mean, they don't get it done, and that's really what the main comparison was for the Mariners here. Is they find a way to come up short every year. I mean, yeah, they made it to the playoffs 2 years ago, but prior to that, their drought was old enough to drink. So, I mean, it wasn't exactly anything that made you feel good about it. But I don't think this move matters. Until ownership decides they actually want to win, it's not going to make any difference.
Well, I don't know that it doesn't matter. You know, sometimes you have to light the fire
Sure.
under somebody's ass. And secondly, they are going to bring in a different hitting coach, I assume, correct?
I mean, yeah, they have to, right? They fired the guy. You know, if they were gonna actually bring someone that's been around the organization to do it, can we get Edgar in there as a hitting coach? Because I mean, at least that dude could make
Edgar
contact with the ball.
Martinez.
Yeah.
I was thinking of who's the bald guy?
What, Buhner?
Buhner.
I'd be fine with Buhner too. Like he was a contact hitter for sure. So I mean, either one of those guys, I would be happy with that because they made contact with the ball. When you have a DH, which let's be honest, you have one job that you're supposed to be kind of good at, batting 167. I don't know why you're in the bigs. And he was your best option.
So I mean, not that I can I don't have much of an argument to that, except for the fact that, you know, last year and 2 years ago, we had a, you know, leadoff designated hitter who was batting 180.
Which is terrible.
Yes.
Why?
Let's be
But
honest.
he was also in a lot of home runs
Okay.
and walking a lot.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
so then I don't hate that, right? Because walks definitely can drag that number a little bit, and you know, home runs means you're swinging away, right? So you're going to have a lot more strikeouts, stuff like that. I can even appreciate that trade-off a little bit, except the Mariners lead the league in strikeouts. They don't lead the league in home runs. They don't lead the league in contact.
That's why the pitching coach got fired.
Yes.
Like let's be for real. That's why the pitching coach got fired.
Hitting coach.
Ultimately, and
Our
the
pitching
pitching
is
coach,
actually solid.
you needed to do both. You can't just fire because truth of the matter is that the manager should have fired the pitching coach.
No question.
And the fact that he
A month
didn't,
and a half ago.
yeah, the fact that he didn't is what cost him his job.
So
Now,
let me understand this correctly, because again, I don't watch baseball as closely. I wanted to be clear.
Sure.
But to my understanding, the Mariners pitching was the good part, right? So why would they?
They didn't fire the pitching coach. They fired the hitting.
Okay. I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute. Why is he saying they should fire the pitching coach? I'm just
Yeah,
confused there.
no.
All right, got you.
No,
the
they
pitching
fired
coach
the
is
hitting
the
coach. Yeah, the pitching's been money.
Yeah. The pitching was good. Okay, cool. I'm on board then. My apologies.
Yeah,
So-
no. In fact, I saw one of the worst stats. Lucas is
Frozen.
Is
Frozen.
yes, it's frozen. Yeah,
Comcast works
yes.
again.
Yes. So he's frozen in his spot because the pitching is
am
so
I?
good.
You were frozen.
Man,
You were
every-
frozen.
Because the pitching's
I
so
know,
good and they're just
every
freezing him.
time on this show. Like, I don't get it. Like, Comcast, I guess, doesn't want to wake up early. Like, I have no idea what the problem is here, but it's really frustrating. Comcast, if you're watching this, I mean, I got so many middle fingers for you.
Do better, Comcast.
So, I don't even remember where I was going now.
Well, it wasn't with AT&T because they're all on strike too. So I don't know.
You know, strike would at least give you an excuse. There's nothing wrong with Comcast other than they suck.
There's nothing wrong with you other than who you are as a person, as a company.
Exactly.
Jeez.
If Do Better was a company, it would be Comcast.
Ooh, I hope a year from now you don't get sponsored by them, bro. They're gonna be
Oh,
pulling all the
there's-
receipts.
I'm in no danger of getting sponsored by Comcast because I hate on that company constantly.
Actually, they need to pay us to talk good about them.
Well, to talk good about them, yeah. I just don't know if you
That's
can pay me enough to do that.
Hey, man, whatever. I'm for sale. Come talk to me.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. There ain't no bullshit about that. So
Oh no. I mean, see, the problem is it freezes up during the show. So you're gonna come out of a commercial being like, Comcast is amazing, get it, and then it's gonna be like frozen. You're like, yeah. So sponsored by Comcast. That break.
that second break was also sponsored by Comcast.
There we go.
That's right. We just take little breaks so you can marinate on the things that we just said and almost said.
It's that dope. Yes.
So,
What's
but
going on,
I think that it will create a sense of urgency on this team. And I think that that's why they did it. Obviously, they chose a unique time. They waited till they got to 500,
Hmm.
to do it,
I
which
think they
makes
more
sense.
waited for him to get back because they were on a road trip. Like I think they were going to fire him anyway. I think this was we'll let him get the plane ride home with the team. Because soon as they got back, it was like, bye.
Well, yes, I get that. But actually, then, I mean, I guess they didn't want to make the change right away because I know when we made the change from Joe Girardi,
Sure.
which he was also at about 500. He was supposed to be a better manager than what he was, and he was not doing it, and he was just things weren't working. And
Sure.
we kept it in the room with our manager current. So Rob Thompson was there in the room, ready to retire. Actually, he was ready to retire, and then he became the manager, and now all of a sudden he's only brought the team to two NLCSs and one World Series.
Sure.
So, I mean, there is something to be said for that. That the collective sigh of relief when the manager is gone actually did play a part in how the team progressed afterwards.
I'm not saying that they don't necessarily get better. I'm not ruling that out because I mean they went 2-8 in their last 10, or are they 3-7, something like that. Like it's not like it's going to require a ton for them to be better than what they've been coming out of the All-Star break. So I'm not saying they don't necessarily take a step forward. I'm saying that at this point in the year, it doesn't matter because even if they get better, I don't know that they have the ability to make a playoff push because they waited until they were 5 games out of the division. And I believe 8 games out of the final wild card spot, 7 games, something like that. So, I mean, it's, there's just not enough baseball left. Like they would have to come out and just be killing it. Like their bats would have to go from, oh, you know what? Turns out I just wasn't looking at the ball, and then just start smashing the hell out of the thing. Like I don't see that turnaround. Do I see them getting better? Sure. Does that mean that they're going to miss the playoffs by 3 games again? Yeah, probably.
And you don't think the amount of change that's the amount of change that's needed is not reasonably expected based on just having a coaching, basically having a management change? Is that kind of where you're at?
Yeah, because the guys they brought in to replace the guys they sent out are basically the same stat line. Now I get being in a new location sometimes gets a spark going, whatever. That's fine on its face. Sounds good. We haven't seen it on the field. So, I mean, that ultimately didn't matter, especially when there were bats available that they could have went and got. So like if ownership wanted to do it, there were guys available that could have been a benefit to the team.
Right.
Not to say that they wouldn't have got here and sucked. Obviously, Cano was a great example of that. Like he was great for the Yankees, came here and he got his payday and was like, being baseball's okay, I guess. So, I mean, it's not like it always works. But when you're bringing a guy in that has the same stat line as the guy you just sent out, I don't know that move really, tips the scale at all. And if that's the kind of stuff that we're doing, which we've watched them do for the last 25 years, I don't know that going into next season says, hey, we're going to make a bunch of moves because the ownership's no different and your GM's the same guy.
No.
Well, maybe.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, I hope they go and light it up and it's awesome. We have some years of seeing that's not how that works.
Oh,
Correct. So the next thing I wanted to quickly discuss before we get into football, and I'm glad that you're here, Travis, to be able to kind of speak on this a little bit because this is going to touch on a couple of different factors that maybe I am unable to speak of intelligently about. Okay. I was listening to something on TikTok of all places, you know what I mean, where, and I've been staying off of TikTok for a while, but I get on and I'm listening to a guy, and this guy's got a show, obviously. He went on a 7-minute rant about, and it was going about Caitlin Clark and how the WNBA is creating this narrative that the fact that everybody is coming in to watch Caitlin Clark
Mhm.
and that she is a white, uh, straight female,
Mhm.
and that because she has entered, in theory, you could say whatever you want about it, whoever else came out, because she went into the WNBA, that they have tripled their viewership.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the argument was being made that she is doing for the WNBA what Tiger Woods did for golf.
Sure.
Okay.
In theory.
Okay.
That
Like,
being
I
said,
don't
all
think
of which sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, the narrative coming out of the WNBA is that all of these fans are Trump loving MAGA guys
What?
that I'm dead serious about this.
Okay.
That it's
Okay.
Trump loving MAGA guys, and that she needs to denounce her fans because the WNBA is a very woke, liberal, lesbian, minority league.
So who's saying this?
I mean, that seems wild to me because if they
Yeah,
were,
I was with you halfway. I was like, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, like
And then the end just like took me far right. I'm like, wait, what?
I watched
hard turn.
I watched the whole 7-minute rant. And the guy had a lot of points. He's like, listen, he's like, there has never been a time. He said Tiger Woods, when Tiger Woods was in the game and made the cut, more people watched. And nobody ever said anything about whatever fans he was bringing in. Because of Tiger Woods, golfers make more money now.
But I don't even agree with the premise. That's the first part.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the part that where gets weird is because that's the legitimate 50% of that is a legitimate conversation. That's a sports conversation we can have all day. We can base it on facts. This is easy. But then there is an assumption that's built when you say her fans are this group. And I'm like, wait, what?
Right. And
Where's
that's not
where's
coming
the
from
facts
her.
behind
That's
that?
not coming
Yeah,
from
where's
her.
the proof behind that? Where's any
That's
of that?
coming from the WNBA.
Well, I don't know that that's coming from the NBA. I think that's just coming from the people who's talking.
See,
That's
so
what I was thinking.
we haven't heard much about it. We haven't heard much about it because we're not listening.
I listen to sports radio literally all
I
day.
understand that, but how often are they talking about the WNBA?
I mean, there's little segments here and there.
Exactly. Like I've listened to what's her name, the freaking she had into a spat with Stephen A. Smith. It was like for a whole month.
Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith was one of the instigators in this.
Well, right, but there was like a month of that. So I was listening to it at one point. It was a solid amount of WNBA coverage talking about the dynamics of all of this with the minority, with Caitlyn essentially being the minority in this minority league, if that makes any sense. Like,
Well,
so I'm here for a lot of that conversation. That makes total sense. But
Right.
there's no antidote. There's no evidence to support that her fans are this group of people versus that group of people. So
Exactly.
That is
that
correct.
premise,
Well, that is
I feel like
correct.
it's just created. But
That
I
is
don't know
correct.
that the WNBA is creating it. It just sounds like.
And Stephen A. does a lot of things for sound bites. Let's be honest. That is what his platform.
And not for nothing. I don't know if you noticed, but Stephen A. is black, and he's
I
very.
did notice that.
I mean, sure, Stephen A. Smith is black like OJ Black. Like you could be black, but that don't mean you represent the culture.
But he speaks a lot he speaks a lot, maybe even out of turn for the community.
For the community. I mean, and that's fair. And I don't want to say he's not black. I'm simply saying when you say someone is black, I'm like being black don't make you like black people aren't a monolith, white people aren't a monolith.
There's just some weird writing in that studio. Like I don't know.
But this is kind of the reason why I'm glad that you're here, Travis, because
just so I have a barometer to.
What level am I? I'm nearly blue black. What are you talking about? Like,
I don't know. I'm just asking.
In America, in Africa, I'm light skinned, but in America, we here, bro. Come on.
But this is part of the reason why I'm glad that you're here on this, because it's like when I heard this and I start to get a feeling a specific way. And to be honest, I am a very, very arm's length peripheral fan of Caitlin Clark. You know, like if Caitlin Clark walked by me, I probably wouldn't recognize her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's a real statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That being said, I'm happy on the fact that she's able to do what she is doing for an entire league. You know, and that's what
No,
I kind of
facts.
feel very celebrated about. Like that ultimately her being there is going to give them more money across the board. The fact that this narrative is still kind of going is very
Well,
disturbing to
there's
me.
a reason for that. It shouldn't be disturbing to you, and there and and give me let me give you a reason why, and I hope it walks you off that ledge, and you just be like, man, f this, like this is nonsense. But the reason that this narrative is out there is because it engages folk. Because everybody knows that there's way too many. This whole society right now is fully entrenched on having these lines in the sand, and normally it's around politics. So if you can make something, if you can find a way to finagle politics into this conversation, you have a lot of listeners. You're
It's
going to
identity
get listeners.
politics.
No
This is
question.
identity
Correct.
politics.
So
100%.
you should be mad about this conversation, but you shouldn't be mad at the WNBA. You should be mad at the people who are promoting that conversation when it's BS, and they know it's BS. If you talk to them off the line, you realize, oh
And
no,
that's-
this is content for them, and they're just getting you riled up. F all that. Let's talk some real sports, and let's have a real conversation about the first half instead of the second, man.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It makes that conversation doesn't even make sense, especially when you think about it. If the NBA or WNBA really is that woke and lesbian and all of that, right? Say all of that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Then she wouldn't be pulling those fans anyway, because they wouldn't watch the product, because they'd be up in arms about it. They'd be online being mad about it, but they wouldn't watch.
Here we go. There we go. If anything, once Caitlin Clark once she wins those championships and becomes that, championships on championship person, then we can have a conversation of saying she's Tiger Woods. In reality, right now, she's closer to Jeremy Lin. Like she is the different thing that is in a league where everybody else just looks different and acts different. And that is what's bringing the eyes to this different thing, because she's good and in a span of time. Once she starts winning those championships, I don't mind pushing her into that Michael Jordan, pushing her into that Serena Williams, pushing her into that Tiger Woods, whatever you want to call it, that person who is different than everyone else, and bringing those eyes in, because now you have the championships that those guys brought in to kind of compare, or the girls, I should say.
Yeah, but Tiger Woods, I mean, let's face it, Tiger Woods didn't win a major in his first year out there. You know what I mean? Or maybe he did.
Wait.
Maybe
I'm
did.
like, wait a
Maybe
minute.
he did.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, no, that might be.
But when you think about, when I'm thinking about that, like when I think about, like Michael Jordan didn't win championships in his first 5 years in the league. You know what I mean? It took him some time to get there.
Right.
But he was iconic the moment he stepped foot on that court.
Yes.
So there's real about that.
Correct. Especially this Nike shoe and all of that. Yeah, you're fully on point with this.
Yeah, and the same thing with her. And I feel like, I'll be honest, I feel like it all stems from jealousy. This is all jealousy based. That there are ladies, like I feel like I'm beginning to feel like that there's a lot of these athletes are like Megan Rapinoe.
Sure.
And the only reason why I even know Megan Rapinoe's name is because, amongst everything else, I feel like that she's just an asshole. Beyond her thoughts, like her ideas don't make her the asshole. Her acting on them and doing things that actually hurt the sport are what makes her an asshole. Not, I could care less that she is lesbian, that she is feminist, that she is pro, pride and all of these things. All of that stuff does not matter to me. And when you're doing that, you do that on your own, but when you start making statements and doing things that cost everybody money, because that's what she did. She cost everybody money because they said, oh, well, you want to get paid this way? We're going to pay you this way. Then they found out they don't make as much. Well, then they're like, can we go back to the old way? Because she doesn't speak for us. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like that's kind of what happened there, and it's I just know that in the process of this, that they are going to start making more money. That
the WNBA, they need
course.
They need to be redoing their CBA, redoing their not their CBA. I'm sorry, redoing their television contract specifically after this season. That's the route. Like that has to be the route. And if you don't start there, then you're already you're hustling backwards.
They
And
need to make it not so
why
hard
not
to
just
walk.
be happy that somebody is in here making it work? Do your stuff now. You guys all made it here.
Oh
Right.
no, that's not gonna happen. Come on, man. Like, come on, you played. But let
I
me phrase.
understand, but
Have you played? You played ball, right? Like you played football, you played baseball, you played
I
sports. Like
have.
you
I've
know
been on
what
a
this
team.
is. Yeah, so you know what this is. So like, if you are the best person in your league, let's say you're Asia Wilson, you are the best person in the WNBA. You've been balling out of control, and you have been struggling to get endorsements. And then someone who don't look like you in a league that looks like you, mainly like you, comes in and does this much of what you've done on the court
Sure.
and gets all these endorsements, gets all this money, gets all this stuff that you're like, what the hell? What do I have to do? You gonna feel some kind of salty. I can be real about that. And I can say that, hey man, what is this that's difference between us? Because I've done this for 3 years. I've been the MVP. I've gotten championships. My team is dope. And she just comes in, balls out of control on a sorry team. Why are we so different? I don't think it's fair to have those conversations. And to my point, I originally said it's Jeremy Lin syndrome until you show me championships, and then you can start putting them on those tiers up here.
So I get why you might be feeling some sort of way, right?
Right.
But that's not necessarily because people wouldn't have seen you. The WNBA doesn't advertise, and they make it almost impossible to know when the games are.
Them boys
of
be
course
playing
they'll-
at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on on Nickelodeon, bro. I don't know. I don't understand none of
or
this.
a channel that you have to pay for. So
Yeah.
you're telling me I have to play for a
Yeah.
sport I don't even know when it started most of the time. So I mean that is wild to me. And then
Yeah.
of course
Yeah,
she's
it
going to
is.
have some following coming into this because
She balled in college.
well, that's the thing is she was balling out in college, and the men's end of college has absolutely fallen apart because of all of the one and dones and moving around. So you don't have storylines to follow anymore. So now the women's side is the only one that has a story to follow.
Fair
So
point.
now you followed her and you followed Reese, and so you bring them into the league. Well, you don't know about the league really because they don't tell you about it ever. And so now you have these ladies coming in and you have a story to follow. So you're following them into the league. So of course they're going to be that polarizing thing because you didn't even remember the WNBA existed until they were
Correct.
getting drafted. So, I mean, you can feel some sort of way, but if you weren't moving the needle already, that's not on them. I mean, that's just misplaced hatred.
Well, I don't think they hate Caitlyn. That's the thing.
Sure.
They just hate the fact that I don't have to hate the person to hate the circumstances. Like
Sure.
I don't hate the person that got hired at my job that they got promoted over me because they didn't make the decision. The manager made the decision. I hate I hate this. Ooh, I almost cursed. I hate the process. Like, like I hate what's happening. Don't mean I hate the person. So I can understand that dichotomy. But unfortunately, you play in this sport where I don't play the manager. I play this girl. So she don't get that work.
That's the thing. Well, and it'd be one thing if you were just doing the work, but a lot of them have talked a lot. Right. And so that's where it takes it to a different level because your manager overlooked you to hire this other person from outside, and you're talking mess about that person instead of being like, hey, what's up with this management?
Bro, no. I give the hey, ladies, tip of the cap, chest bumps, whatever y'all like to do, because then they're crazy. But what they get all credit on this. Keep this going. I need them to be angry at each other forever. The best time of basketball in my personal lifetime was when you have a Bulls team and a Pistons team that don't like each other. You got these different boxers,
Sixers and Celtics and LA Lakers, and
you got these different boxers that's pretending they racist to each other. You know they not, but they pretending they're racist to each other because they know it's gonna split America into two parties, and they're gonna be like, oh, everybody and their mama gonna be watching this. Like I need the WNBA to keep doing this because they know people love is great, but hate will feed families. So they keep this going and keep these things growing up. But in that way, that television contract gonna be huge, man.
But I tell you, the one thing that to just kind of speak to your point, I wouldn't know Asia's name if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark. And that's still a real statement.
Yeah.
And that's still a real statement. And because I would care less about we would not even talk about the WNBA. Let's be for real. We wouldn't talk about it if there wasn't this conversation to be had.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it's about. Maybe that's really it. Some people got to stir the pot, but then
No, it
it's still
never done.
bubbling, it's still boiling, so the bubbles have to still rise. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And they go
Yeah.
through the pot. So, and that's kind of what it is that I'm doing. I'm just a bubble coming up from the bottom and discussing it with you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Isn't
I
it? I
got
mean, that makes about sense, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think
No,
it's the right analogy here.
it is definitely the right analogy because we're all bubbles, which means we're just 4 gas bags here on TV.
Jeez.
On the WNBA note, one thing that was kind of funny is Angel Reese gets a Reese's contract as a sponsor. I was like, that's kind of tight, actually.
Yeah. And again,
It's
they were
about
smart.
time. Isn't that about
Yeah,
time?
that
Like,
should've
why
took
wouldn't
place
she have
early.
gotten that? Like,
Right?
that was almost a no-brainer.
Exactly. Why
The
did it take
layup.
so long? Was what I'm
Reese's missed the layup for nearly a year. Yeah.
No question. No question. That seemed like the easiest sponsorship ever.
Like Marshawn and Skittles. Let's go.
Right? Just no-brainer type stuff. That being said, the first half of this show is brought to you by True Fusion Gym right here in the Pacific Northwest, Bellevue, Ballard, and University Village. Hit the QR code on your screen right now. Free 5-day pass, whether it's Pilates, boot camp, yoga, you can find it all there. Find your edge at True Fusion Gym. And of course, our station is now partially brought to you by BetUS. You can... There we go. So brought to you by BetUS. You can gamble alongside our station, whether you are here in the U.S. or around the world. It is available all over the place. And of course, you get 125% of your first deposit to bet alongside this show. All right. So moving into football a little bit, you got to be happy with the way that your team has been doing the kick returns. And, you were, the first 2 weeks, you were leading the league in return as far as starting position off of these kickoffs.
Yeah.
But one of the things I thought was very interesting is something I saw from the first game that you guys were kind of the only ones actually doing is not retreating on that kickoff, actually just engaging and allowing your guys to actually find some gaps as opposed to falling back and catching defenders.
Well, yeah, that's been interesting because we knew the first few weeks of preseason, the first few weeks of the season is going to involve a lot of these special teams coordinators just frankly figuring this stuff out. Like they've all said they've watched film of other, the UFL and the XFL teams trying the kickoffs, and they brought in consultants and all of this stuff. Coach Bono Mago, who went down to Jacksonville and helped out the coaching staff down in Jacksonville as a consultant. Hey, I think you're on the right page. I think you need to change this, kind of all those conversations. And they've brought in all those guys and just kind of come to a conclusion. We like what we're doing. And if you look at the preseason, it shows. Like they ended week 1 as having the longest return in the NFL and the third longest return in the NFL in the same game. 2 different players. Like just the way that they're doing it, they seem to have kind of broken the mold or kind of figured out this whole process. So I hope it's not something where they're showing stuff in the preseason and other teams are just kind of playing it safe. I do have that little thought in the back of my head, like, are the other teams even doing their full stuff, or is it just like?
I'm sure they're not, right?
Yeah,
like, I'm sure everybody's playing it kind of safe, trying to get timing down.
So that's what I'm wondering. So if it's not that, and if this is truly what it is, then yeah, that's going to be a heck of a benefit to this team. And unfortunately, it's just going to result in teams kicking out the back of the end zone, though. They're just going to give it to them in a 30 every time if they're truly having a starting yard line above the 30-yard line. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you were the kickoff team, I would be trying to get a low angle kick that lands at the 18 and then rolls through, because then it comes out to the 20.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's another way of trying to get around it. But again, if you have a good kick return team, the Jaguars seem to have been this preseason. After that, I ain't taking that chance. The average starting yard line is the 29-yard line. I'm gonna give it to you on the 30.
Yeah,
and
but
not risk the return.
They were kicking to your guys more traditionally, where there was hang time, which is easy to field, and no one's allowed to move. So there's really no benefit to giving you that easy to catch ball. Whereas if it's a low line drive, that is a much harder ball to field.
Sure, that's fair.
And how soon do you think that we start to see the miracle at Music City Miracle?
Oh, you mean
I'm
like
dead serious.
all the
Like
trick
that's
plays and kind of that kind of
yeah,
stuff?
because that's coming. That's
Oh
going to
yeah.
really come, and that's going to come very quickly because ultimately, now that you got everybody starting so early, they lose their lines quick.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like you should start seeing it. I would hope if someone's aggressive, someone like an Andy Reid, someone who has the cachet to not get fired for doing something just dumb, like if it goes wrong, I mean, I would hope you were seeing it's week 2 and week 3 of the season, just because you have these guys who are their mind spinning, just trying to figure out the basics of what this new rule means, and if you can just try to catch them off guard early, I think that would be great to get on tape.
I agree.
Yep.
So I expect to see reverses. I
Mhm.
expect to see Music City Miracles. I think that's going to start happening quickly because
Mhm.
this is now a live play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a punt return, and that's like a punt return and or a run. And how often do you see trick plays in the NFL? You know, maybe once every few games.
Yep. Yeah.
So
No, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, I guess shifting gears to something that was a little troubling in these games so far is that run defense looks shaky.
I'm not going to make assessments on units. Let's have this conversation. I don't do that for the most part in preseason against any unit unless they have all their starters playing, and then at least we can have a real conversation. If you don't have all your starters playing on your offensive line, your defensive line, your secondary, whatever, hey man, preseason is not the time to judge units. Preseason is the time to judge
Right.
isolated players because
Yeah.
that's what translates to the regular season.
And, so the
Absolutely.
why I
Absolutely.
say it is actually the missed tackles. So it's not that is individual. Now it's a
That's
unit.
fair. That's
It's a
fair.
unit.
It's a unit.
Individually within that unit, it's been really rough watching you guys in the middle.
So it's the individual missed tackles, but then again, you're still going back to that first question: who's missing the tackles? And there's the piece. Because the starting Jaguars defensive line played the first preseason game, and they did it without Eric Armstead.
Sure.
Cool. Our big free agent signing right in the middle of the defense. All right, well, whatever then. And then they didn't play the week. They didn't play the week 2 preseason game, and they in the joint practices they dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for both of those days. I was present. I watched it all.
Sure.
And
Today it's the Bucks. So
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bro. You can only do what you can do.
No,
I mean, you
I'm
guys
with
beat
you.
up on
I'm
the
with
you
you.
guys beat up on the Titans, and it's I mean,
and then still lost the game. No, I get it. I get it.
so it kind of is what it is. So I don't judge. Yes, I am concerned because I haven't seen it. As far as I'm concerned that the Jaguars defense is not going to be able to stop the run, and not because of what I've seen on film, because that was a problem last year, and
Yes.
because I haven't seen it this year, and that's my concern. But it's not because of the tape, to be clear.
No, well, that's actually it is kind of because of the tape, because you watched all that tape last year, and then you're seeing trends in preseason. Now again, it's preseason. I get it. It doesn't matter a ton because a lot of those guys are going to be working at Target in a week. But
Correct.
at the same time, there's a lot of things.
Target's not hiring anymore, so it's going to be Walmart.
Oh, sorry, Best Buy. Best Buy.
Yeah, Best Buy, Amazon drivers, it's fine. We know who they are. Yeah.
We'll get a Costco up there. What the hell?
There'll be Walmart greeters. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
DJs.
But yeah, so I mean, like it's the individual missed things that, I mean, because I've watched it not just with you guys. You just happen to be here, so wanted to talk about your team. I watched some very similar things with my Seahawks, where there's guys that were missing some tackles that you're just like, man, like I don't care what the rest of the team did around you. You had this guy dead to rights,
Right.
and you're not making the play.
Right.
Now, does that guy make the team? Who knows, right? The roster cuts happen after this weekend. We'll find out. But if they do,
if he got a knockout during any one of the practices, I'm sure he's going to stay.
I mean, it shows aggression, right?
So that's what I'm looking at. I'm judging each individual guy's grades, and I'm saying, hey, who are my guys who are going to contribute in 2024 or reasonably going to contribute in 2024? How did they do? If you did well, and these are my starting 11, or these are my starting 13 that I reasonably expect to play, and 10, 11 of these guys did well, I'm walking out of that game feeling good. If 3, 4 in the same unit didn't do well, we got questions, especially if that's like the D line or the O line. All right, cool. We got to have a conversation because come to Jesus is gonna happen in week 1, and I think we all gonna be a little surprised. So like you gotta figure that out. So that's kind of where I am with that evaluation stage.
Well, I mean, and that's where you have to be to some degree.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Well, you say that, but I talk to too many fans that is not where they are. They're like, they average 5 yards a carry. I'm like, bro, what? Yeah, but look who gave up the run.
Yeah, exactly.
First string defensive tackle who just got moved three gaps out of the way. He ain't gonna be on the roster. Like, but people don't have to have those nuanced conversations, man.
No, but see, that guy's not going to be on the roster. But the linebacker behind him that also missed the tackle might be.
I mean,
right. So that's where I'm saying, there's
they
some
play
trends,
off each other.
Exactly. There's some trends that I've watched that, might be a little troubling. Now, once we get into the regular season, obviously we're going to see whatever it actually is. But what we're seeing in the preseason looked a lot like last year, and that's why I bring it up.
Oh, no, that's facts. So again, my biggest concern with the Miami Dolphins in week 1 is not their passing game, is not their receivers. It is absolutely the fact that they have an explosive run game, even though they have a bad O-line, which is a weird dichotomy. But so I'm just hoping that Eric Armstead, now that he's off the PUP list and he won't be playing this week, but he realistically, will be playing week 1, will be able to help close those gaps, because we know the Dolphins are one of those few teams that they'll just average 8 yards a carry like it's nothing. And those explosive runs will kill you if they get that small crease. So I'm more concerned about that than I am concerned about their passing game, which is weird because we have a younger secondary, but it's Ryan Nielsen. Our defense is probably going to be all right if they can stop the run.
Well, somebody tell me what the hell dichotomy means. I'm still looking up that word.
Dichotomy? Differences. They're different, bro. They're just on different sides of that line, man.
Okay,
I'm surprised that hasn't popped up for you on the word of the day toilet paper. I think you'll be all right.
I promise you, I'm not Stephen A, bro. I don't read a different word of the day. I ain't trying to just throw it into a conversation. This is how I talk.
And just in case you didn't know, Stephen A is black.
Oh,
possibly.
It's just bad lighting in that studio.
Possibly.
That's it.
Man.
I mean, it is some of the questions that I have for the Seahawks as well. Is when you're looking at last year's tape, they were terrible in the middle, stopping the run. They were really horrible against seam routes or anything that crossed. It's one of the things I'm going to look at very closely going into the first few games of this season. Is we have all new personnel, new coach calling that defense. Mm-hmm. Do they fix that problem? Because it was such a problem last year. I'm hoping some of it doesn't trail into this year. I mean, we had guys getting benched because they wouldn't tackle last year, right? Like Tariq Woolen, who was the runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year his rookie season, got benched twice for not actually tackling people. Like, that's wild to me. You're a defensive player. What's the one thing you're supposed to like to do?
In the NFL. Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to go head hunt. Like, if you're not making a play on the ball, you're blowing someone up. Like, that is the deal. So if you're getting benched for guys like Michael Jackson, who they just, ended up sending down to, let's see, where did they send him? Actually, I think you guys might have got him. But
Michael Jackson?
Yeah, corner. Maybe he went to Miami. But
No. Was it?
Oh no, I'm wrong. He was a
Tampa.
He went. I think he's a Panther actually.
Oh, the other Jacksonville team.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the old Jacksonville front office. They take all the Jaguars too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so actually a solid corner overall. But I mean, he ended up coming in who was a nickel corner in that scheme because Tariq Woolen wouldn't actually tackle people. So I mean, there's a lot of things that had to get better on this defense. I don't know if McDonald had enough time to make that work. So, I mean, I'm going to be watching my team real closely on that defensive side of the ball.
I got you. Yeah. So I'm in that same boat and I definitely feel it. No, but what about you guys? Like, I know Philly, how are you feeling about your guys? Are y'all going to just win the Super Bowl? Is that, are we there?
No, I don't have it there. I have us going to the NFC Championship game. I think that there's got to be, of course, it don't matter what I say. They got to play out on the field. Yeah. I'm a realist. You know what I mean? I think a certain way because I feel that there isn't that much talent in the NFC.
All right. So where's your concern area? If you have one reason or one area of the team because this is why you guys won't make it to the championship game or the NFC Championship game. What is that? What is that area?
The same problem we've had throughout time. and that's in the middle of our defense. The linebacker
Mm.
crew has been substandard for years, and they do not invest enough money into that area. So when you have a philosophical problem
Mhm.
that continually happens over and over again, and you solve it by doing stop gaps and stop measures, rather than fixing the problem,
Mhm.
I feel that that's going to rear its head again.
Well, you don't like bubble gum and zip ties? Come on.
Well, you know what? But like when you think about it, let's go back all the way to 2002
Okay.
and
Okay.
2003 and 2004, where it's like I think of Tampa Bay throwing to their tight end and that guy's still running.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh,
Right.
Hmm.
and
I'm with you.
the Panthers, same situation. 2002, 2003, in theory, 2004. Welker kept killing us across the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because our linebacker crew was not the best.
Yeah.
Bring that all the way to 22. Our linebacker crew was better, but still not great, and they were still killing us. The tight end for opposing offenses factors too much in their offense when playing us, and
Okay.
that is my biggest concern.
I
Okay.
feel like that could have easily been one of your guys watching confetti fall on somebody else and be like, you might be wondering how I got here. We just went through that whole montage.
So make 11. Make 11. Which team are you? Are you Vikings? Who are you?
Oh,
No,
he's a Dallas Cowboys
He's
fan.
Dallas.
Swapping.
Freaking Dallas. I'm sorry.
That's where so
Where you
everybody's
find
hating on Dallas here.
this dude?
Jags will have a better record than Dallas. There you go.
We kind of have, and since we've been a team, but whatever.
But so yes, I think that but we think Dallas is going to suck. So we just know.
I mean,
Dallas is
he,
gonna
he
suck.
has to know that. I mean, that's not like news. I would hope at least.
No, it's he's actually mentioned it a few times that he is expecting poor things out of the Dallas camp this year.
He's getting really close to switching over to the team in his hometown anyway. He's going to be a Texans fan here real soon.
I can't. I would never do that, but yeah, I mean,
That says it all. That says it all.
The Texans can't even spell, bro. Did you see their locker room picture? The acronym that they put into their locker room?
No, I didn't.
Lord, it's supposed to say swarm. The acronym is SWARM, swarm. But then the words that they spell out actually spells swarm, SWERN. It's like special, work. Special work ethic. I don't know. I forget the last two words, and I'm like, yo, wait, what? Yeah. JJ Watt sends the picture of the locker room.
If you're trying to come up with a joke, that was the crappiest line ever. Where did you find this guy?
It's a mess. JJ Watt shared the picture of the locker room. We were like, dude, that's not how acronyms work. What are y'all doing?
Exactly.
No, it is. It's like stats. They are whatever you want them to be.
Oh, boy.
Never a dull moment, I tell you.
And that's the team you're going to have to root for because your team can't win. Can't go 500. I'm sorry, bro.
They're going to play like he talks.
I just like the noise that came out of his face. He sounded more like Bobcat than somebody that's going to be on a show.
Jeez. Yeah, it's different in Texas, man.
I tell you. I think all the floods have gotten to his brain.
I figured it was Modelo action based on that.
But all right. So Travis, real quick, based on everything that you've seen so far this year from the preseason, are you sticking with what you initially think? Do you think the Jags are able to win the division? And go somewhere this year? Like,
I still think they're going to be a playoff team. I do believe that they're going to be the winning the division part makes this real hard, man. Because I don't know where the Colts. The Colts. It's not even about the Jaguars at that point. I don't know where the Colts are going to land. Their range of outcomes is so freaking wide. Like,
did you watch the game last night?
I watched the highlights this morning.
Okay.
I didn't watch it live. Everybody was talking about it, but
So-
his 7 of 8, and then he throws a pick six. And
Well, so the pick six kind of looked
Bad
like it may
route.
not have been his fault.
bad route.
Well, that was the thing, is the receiver broke out, he threw in, right?
And the receiver was like falling backwards, but the safety read that the whole way either way, bro. That was like,
Well, the
ugh.
receiver was bracketed. Like, I mean, you had to hit that dude square anyway. But this is right, it was longer than 7 minutes. Yeah, no. So I mean, it wasn't necessarily the pick six, right? The pick six, you're like, okay, give that up to a bad route, bad spot of the field. Okay, is what it is. But that first drive, you're like 7 to 8. All right, looks pretty sharp. Here we go. And then you get into the third drive, let's say, because the pick six was, quick. It was ugly. Like, it was nothing was even close. So I think that's why the range is so wide on what the Colts could be, because there's going to be so much, like, there's going to be moments where you're like, okay, like, he could be the dude. And then there's going to be the next drive. You're like, I feel like he might be a backup.
I mean, yeah, if the RPOs aren't working, it's going to be a conversation. Like, it will be an early conversation with that team, and that's kind of what it's going to come down to. They have the solid O-line, whether or not they're going to be able to establish the run, whether it's via JT or whether it's via the quarterback. And if that's not working, hey, praying for you, bro. Like, I mean, just make it through the season at that point, because his health is also that other piece of that puzzle. And so I just think the AFC South across the board. I say across the board. The top 3 teams in the AFC South, I don't believe in the Tennessee Titans. I think Will Levis is trash. I've always thought that. He's throwing rocks into the ocean.
If you're drinking mayonnaise, I can't get behind you.
Mayonnaise in your coffee, bro?
Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have a cologne that has mayonnaise in it. Like, what are we doing right now?
You smell like fat. Like that. I don't like that. That's no. What?
I'm out.
Mayonnaise cologne. Okay, cool.
So
I
don't mind. I wouldn't mind smelling like fat. You give me some, like some duck fat or some steak fat, and I rub that on me. I'd smell good. I love that.
Walk around smelling like fried chicken, bro. What is this?
Not fried chicken. Not fried chicken. No, steak.
All right,
steak.
I'm like bacon. You just walk around with bacon fat on his arms. Like, nah, man. That's
if you walk
basically
around with bacon, you probably have a better chance, right? Like, if you just have like a bag of bacon, you'd be like, "Want some bacon?" Be like,
Hey, listen. I always am laughing about saying, like, every time I see a dog, I'm like, "Hey, listen, I ain't got no bacon in my pocket, but I would love some. I'd love to have some bacon in my pocket. I'd be eating it."
Man, you trying your hardest to get accosted at the airport, bro. I can't be with you.
So, anyways, last thing, because we got just a few minutes left.
Yeah.
I am getting to throw out my very first pitch on Saturday. I'm going out to the Lancaster Barnstormers. So this is an independent league, and I'm going out there, and they're having a Philadelphia night, a Philly night. And I am going to be the guy who gets to throw out the first pitch. Now, I know how to throw ball. However, I was thinking about certain things that I could do that would be kind of cool. And I was wondering, one of the things I came up with was, when they throw me the ball to throw it back to the plate, I'm going to sign it and throw it out above the catcher and into the crowd. Is that cool?
You should spit on that thing first. I mean, you should, because like the New York Mets invited the hot tour girl, and that's what I thought you were going with. I'm throwing my first pitch out of the Mets game. I'm like, dang, they followed up with for the sports guy. Okay, cool.
My draft is on Sunday, by the way, Rob.
Yeah, you should. I mean, throwing it into the crowd might be dope. Maybe.
I was thinking like that might be a cool thing to do, and something that people don't do purposely.
Yeah.
It'd be different.
However, I was told, like, hey, the catcher's waiting for you. So to throw that ball out into the crowd, normally that's a ceremonial ball, they give it back to you.
Yes.
Oh, so now it's disrespectful.
So is that being disrespectful?
Yeah.
So
you probably do need to keep, especially because it's your first one.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing I was thinking of. I was thinking about, as I do that, like maybe take a ball out of my pocket and do that and have it signed already and just throw it over there and then kind of laugh and be like, "Oh, sorry," and then throw the right
you
ball.
got to pretend, at least got to pretend sign it so people know it's signed and whatever. So go through the process.
I think you need the announcer to be in on it so that you do that and he can be just a bit outside. Like, I think that would be hilarious.
Which would be kind of funny, and then be like,
or
"Oh,
you
he's
could
got
throw
the
the real
second
one
and do
throw
that."
one out there anyway.
I mean, I feel like if I throw a great pitch, nobody's ever
Yeah.
going to see it. If I go crazy and do something where, like, I look like an idiot and who's never thrown a ball before, and the ball, like, if I look like 50 Cent, you know what I mean? Then
fair.
people are going to, the Philly sports guy has got no sports.
People would notice it. That's actually a fair point.
So I kind of think like that's part of the cool part about this. So I'm not sure. And Chris was sending me because he knows that I'm having this this first pitch. He sent me 2 first pitches. One guy was 102, and the other person was 105. The 105 was done the other day. She went out there to throw out the first pitch. She's the oldest ever to throw out a first pitch in both the major and minor leagues.
I mean, a $1.05 makes sense. That one may not get broken.
Did it make it? That's not a joke. Like, I'm just like legit.
I can't imagine it did.
Oh,
Like, I'm sure she was on the walker and she was probably like 6 feet away that she could have probably just went like this and the guy was right there to catch it. So
She probably like set it in the jugs machine to get it there. Like,
jeez, I'm like, yeah, I had him throwing out her shoulder and everything or something.
the other question is, do you do a wind up?
I mean, you got to.
Of course.
Like, I don't, like, when I throw a ball, I was never a pitcher.
Oh, so you want to be cool looking. You want to come out here and just like just get it out, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, then you just
that's where you should have done. You should have been practicing a little bit and done one of those like really wicked, almost underarm sidearms. Like, because
I could see you do a running sidearm. I could.
Then you can get it to the plate.
Yeah,
but it's still weird enough that you'll get play for it.
Where I get the underhand, like it's almost an underhand, twist ball type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to make him like?
Yes, I am going to paint myself up. I am going to be in 100% full Phillies gear.
Hell yeah!
So the man knows his crowd.
Exactly. Exactly.
So like I said, I could throw a ball and I could probably wind up and do a pitch. You know what I mean? Like, winding up is no ridiculous thing. I feel like that when you're trying to do the wind up, it's the wind up that screws you up.
I mean, if you're not used to doing it, then yes.
Yeah, because I'm going to release the ball all the way up here instead of right here.
Yeah,
you know
it'll mess your mechanics
down.
Yeah, well, that'll be the thing is you probably won't release it early. You'll probably release it late, and it'll probably bounce in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I don't want to do that either, because then I would do the sidearm, because I could throw a sidearm.
Yeah, Chris Lentz is on it. Yeah, underhand pitch. Do this thing like Angels in the outfield. Come on,
float it in.
Yeah. Just let it
go.
Yeah, exactly. It'd probably still be better than Dax.
Oh,
underhand pitch would be hilarious.
So, I will try to get a video of it. You guys, we will show this on Monday. Or Tuesday, whenever we're back on again, just in case Monday we're not. But we will show it on the next live show how the pitch went.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. I mean, that does get us to the top of the show. Trav, thanks for coming in, man. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. If you are watching here on Roku TV, stay tuned for the next hour. Other than that, we will see you all next week. Enjoy a weekend of football, everybody.